There's a new Lauri Markkanen trade rumor out there from ESPN. We're going to dissect it because there's a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, like always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. All right, so in this one, you can go to NBA or to ESPN.com, the NBA section, and read it. It's by Tim McMahon. It's the latest intel. I suggest you do. Get your own opinions on things. But we're going to dissect it here, and I'm going to give you what I think is going on here. And it's important that we dissect this one because we saw what happened earlier this offseason when the Austin Ainge presser happened, and everyone shouted out in all caps, tanking is over. It's all done. Well, there was some nuance to what Austin Ainge said, and really what he was talking about was playing or manipulating lineups to lose games was over. And whatever your definition of tanking is, whatever. Anyways, moral is we got to dissect this because we can't be jumping to conclusions. Okay, so Tim McMahon starts this article talking about the Jazz veterans who were traded. John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson was waived. And then it prompted other GMs to wonder, is Lauri Markkanen next? Because guess what? He was in trade rumors last year. But according to Tim McMahon, he says it is not Utah's intention to trade Lauri Markkanen. But then he goes on to say it would be too much to describe Markkanen as untouchable. So, I don't know if anything's clearer after that. Utah's intention is to not trade him, but he's not untouchable. Okay. So, yes, it's like Austin Ainge is going, if a GM calls and talks to Austin Ainge, they're saying, is Lauri Markkanen available? And he goes, yes. Or, no, more likely it's, no, he's not. No, he's not. And they nod their head while they say no. That's more or less what that sounds like to me. Really what it sounds like is the right price, right? Well, you keep going on and it says, but the Jazz still project the all-star forward as a key part of their future. Okay. It says here, Utah listened to offers for Markkanen last summer. All right, let's stop there. That is confirmation that all the rumors I talked about last year were true. All of them. So everyone who had a problem with every trade rumor, guess what? They were all true. Every time someone online, whether it was the local writers, said, no, they're not trading him, guess what? According to Tim McMahon, who is reporting this, he says Utah listened to offers for Markkanen last summer, but none of the talks with other teams ever came close to tempting CEO Danny Ainge and GM Justin Zanuck to make a trade. All right. Is everyone who made a comment last year in each one of my videos that I was making stuff up or these guys were making stuff up or it was fake news or any of this, are any of you going to go into the comments and say, oops, sorry, you were right. It was happening. It was all true. It was happening. All right? So, next time we get reports from the Jake Fishers, the Steins, Bill Simmons on his podcast, Zach Lowe, Adrian Wojnarowski, Sham Charania, all these big-time reporters are the guys that have proven to be right. When they give trade rumors, it is worth listening to. The age of just throwing something out because it's not something you like to hear, and so that's why you call it fake news. Tough. Sometimes the truth is hard. The truth can be hard. You can't handle the truth. Okay? It was going on. So that is the context we need to bring into this. And what is also interesting is that he mentions Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck. Who's in charge now? Austin Ainge is in charge. Okay? So there's a different dynamic. The Jazz ultimately awarded Markkanen a 5-year, $238 million maximum renegotiation. Yikes. An extension allowing him to sign a deal last August 7th and making him ineligible to be traded before last season's deadline. We can now admit that that was probably not the greatest at least beginning of the contract for Lauri Markkanen. I personally was not pro it. It was not something that made a lot of sense to me when you consider the long-term goals of the Jazz and what we saw last season. Utah was successful with the tank. They get Ace Bailey. They were also able to use the picks they got. One of them from the Wolves, I believe, for Walter Clayton Jr. Used that to trade up. Got Walter Clayton, who looks great. Both picks look really good as of right now. The contract isn't a concern for Jazz Governor Ryan Smith, though. Oh, it's not, is it? $238 million for a three-point shooter who shot 34% from three. But we're not concerned. Whose roster is loaded with rookie deals. Okay, well, when I hear that's what tells me that it's okay. You know what? It's a big contract, but we're filled with rookie deals, so it's okay. Well, it's still a bad contract. Yes, it fits within the cap, but it's still a bad contract. And that type of thinking can get you in real big trouble real quick when you start giving big contracts to people and it's okay because you got rookie deals. Well, what you need to be doing is making sure that you're planning for the right deals at the right time for the right players, because right now we have so many teams in cap hell that can't get out of it. They can't. And that situation will rear its ugly head at some point with the Utah Jazz if they are not careful. It's already hitting them a little bit. Why? Because if Utah wants to trade Lauri Markkanen, it's going to be very hard. Here, and we'll talk about this in that article, in this same article that is mentioned, by the way. It says, so Ryan Smith let's see. They are not worried about trading him. It's not a concern. He's coming off the worst shooting season of his career, albeit in challenging circumstances. So Tim McMahon also mentions that right when he got the deal, he immediately has a bad season. It says it would take quite a haul for the Jazz to consider moving Markkanen, probably requiring him to restore his value, performing well for those kinds of offers to come the Jazz's way. But the hope is in Utah, however, is that Markkanen is still in a Jazz uniform when the franchise eventually becomes competitive again. So, the Jazz signed Lauri Markkanen for that contract. He immediately was ineligible because they did it a day after the 6th-month requirement to make a trade by trade deadline, so they couldn't trade him last offseason, which they should have been able to. Mistake. Because Markkanen did not shoot the ball well when he was at his peak value last offseason. They didn't make the move, and then they couldn't at trade deadline. Now, it says here, however, opposing executives said the money does dampen Markkanen's theoretical trade value. So like I said, that contract is huge, and because Markkanen did not shoot the ball well, and I don't care what anyone says, challenging circumstances, whatever. You're in the NBA. Who's not in challenging circumstances? No one else gets those benefit of the doubt. Why does Markkanen? You're in the NBA. It's supposed to be challenging. And if you're making $238 million, you're supposed to be that caliber of player that overcomes challenging situations, which he did not. So now, because Utah gave him that contract, it makes things much more difficult. And that's what McMahon mentions in the article. And it says here, let's see. The hope in Utah, like I said, however, is that Markkanen is still in a Jazz uniform when the franchise eventually becomes competitive again. But it would take quite a haul for the Jazz to consider moving Markkanen, probably requiring him to restore his value by performing well for those kinds of offers to come the Jazz's way. So what we get in this article is a bunch of talking out of the both sides of the mouth by the Jazz. Utah does not intend to trade Markkanen unless they get a huge offer. Or Utah does not intend to trade Markkanen, but he's not untouchable. Utah looks at Markkanen as part of their future unless they get a big haul for Markkanen. GMs find his value to be low unless he performs well this season. So we have two parts of this story going on. It certainly sounds to me like Utah is not in love with that contract. They are very much interested in playing to win games, but they want to lose because they want to keep their top 8 pick. Markkanen puts that plan in jeopardy. But Markkanen, after getting a massive, massive contract, the like of which you give to the best players in the NBA, shot 34% from 3 as a 3-point specialist. And so now Utah is having a hard time trading him and is likely getting pretty lowball offers for him from other GMs, knowing what Utah is trying to do. Utah has done a great job this offseason offloading contracts. They had an incredible draft. Now they have this Lauri Markkanen question. And we've talked about the Walker Kessler equation as well, but the Lauri Markkanen question is a problem, and Utah has to figure this thing out. It certainly seems like, and I've actually heard that same line about Markkanen improving his trade value from multiple people. Zach Lowe's talked about that. Bill Simmons has talked about that. I think Jake Fisher maybe even talked about that. So that is the word on the street with every GM. They're kind of looking to see if Markkanen plays well. And I bet if Markkanen plays well, then they will get some sort of move happening. I'm sure Utah is going to be talking with multiple GMs this season, because I don't know. I mean, maybe an offer comes this offseason at some point. That certainly could happen. With the big difference here too, they mentioned that Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck didn't find a deal that made sense to them last offseason. They're not in charge anymore. It's Austin Ainge. Obviously, those guys are working with Austin Ainge, but Austin Ainge did this offseason what those two didn't. We had trade rumors for Jordan Clarkson and John Collins and Colin Sexton for 2 years, never got a deal. Austin Ainge knows what the Jazz direction is and made those deals happen already. It was already done. He's already being aggressive. He already mentioned in his presser that he was going to be aggressive, and those things happen. I think it's interesting that Kevin Love has not been waived yet. There may be some sort of trade happening. There's also some whispers and rumors about LeBron James out there. Who knows what that means, and if somehow Utah can make things match. Just coincidentally enough, Lauri Markkanen's contract matches LeBron James. So Utah might not necessarily trade for LeBron, but perhaps they can do something in terms of just like a 3-team deal or something like that. All right, guys, that's what's going on. It was a little all over the place. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments. Thank you to all the members, especially the All-Stars. If you'd like to support the channel, hit join below. I will talk to you next time.